Start by placing a long shank streamer hook in your vise. So I'm using barbless firehole sticks number 811 in size 6, but any long shank streamer or stinger hook will do, like either of these two Gamakatsu hooks. We will need one of these caps, and I like the fish skull baitfish heads. Whatever hook you use, make sure the cap fits over the eye of the hook before you start tying. Also, make sure the gap of the hook and the shank is long enough to give a good hook set with the head in the way. Once your hook is on the vise, then measure it to start your thread wraps. So you can see here there's a hollow section in the cap, and you want to start roughly between the space there. So start your thread at that measurement and bring your thread all the way back to the start of the bend of the hook. Now we will need a rabbit zonker strip. Rabbit strips come in a large range of colors, so get creative. And today I'm using olive. Pull out a strip and then snip off a taper at the tip of the skin to help this fly move better in the water. Measure out a hook shank length and then pull the fur back at that measurement. It also helps to do it with wet fingers. Then make 4 to 5 tight wraps to attach the zonker strip onto your hook. Then pull back the strip and make a few wraps in front of it, but make sure you bring your thread back to just behind the strip. Make a dubbing loop and attach your dubbing twister. Then advance your thread up the hook shank. Now we will need some ice dubbing. Pull a fair amount out of your bag, and then pull it apart with your fingers to align the fibers. Okay, this was a little too much. Make sure you spread the fibers out a bit also. Place the dubbing in your loop and twist it up to create a hackle. It's a good idea to pick out and brush your hackle as well to make sure that there is no twisted or trapped fibers. Pull all the fibers rearward and start making wraps up the hook shank, ensuring to stroke the fibers rearward with every wrap. Then capture the dubbing loop and snip off the waist. Pick out the dubbing with your bodkin and stroke all the fibers rearward. Now split the dubbing on top of the hook shank and stroke all the fibers to the side. Pull the zonker strip over the dubbing tight and tie down with a few tight wraps. And snip off any extra strip past your wraps, and then clean up that section with wraps to further secure the strip. Now pull out some appropriate color laser dubbing and pull apart in your fingers multiple times to align the fibers. Then tie the dubbing in on top of the hook shank in the center of the bunch with a couple wraps. Now select a light color laser dubbing, but this time we will want to use a little less. And pull apart in your fingers as well, but cut this in half as we don't need as long a piece. Once the dubbing is prepared, tie it down in the center of the bunch, but on the side of the hook. And then pull the front part rearward on the other side of the hook and tie down with a wrap or two. Pull back the top dubbing clump and tie that in rearward as well. Now, to cover your wraps, pinch the side of the dubbing. Then check your cap to see if you need to add more dubbing. If so, repeat the last few steps with dubbing. Once you have tied up enough on the hook, and the cap rests without a gap in front, then whip finish your fly. Now you need to pick out the dubbing and brush it rearward. When you're happy with the look of the dubbing, then add some adhesive to the front of the fly. I'm using a gel type super glue, but whatever you use, make sure you add enough to secure the head on, but not too much so it squeezes out after placing on the head. Then push the head on firmly, wiggling it back and forth to really have it on tight. And once the head is on, then position the dubbing fibers to where you want them. Now we're going to need to let the glue dry before proceeding to the next step. So I like to trim this fly a little. To do so, stroke the dubbing up a little, then make a tapered cut. Do this slowly, as you can always trim more, but you cannot put more on. Once you're happy with the shape and look of the fly, brush it out with a comb. So these heads come with eyes to put on, and an indent for them to be placed into. You could put a drop of super glue down before putting the eyes on and it'll hold them well. However, I like to just place the eyes down on both sides, then fill this indent with some UV resin and cure it. I find this to be a little more durable, and it also makes a nice smooth head. Now this is fishable, and it should not pop loose on you. However, for added security, I like adding a bit of a thread dam in front of the head, and then paint on some UV resin to secure it further. And there we have it, a simple, quick, and effective baitfish pattern that actually has a bit of a jigging motion. And it has a really nice movement with that rabbit strip and dubbing. And the flashy ice dub underbelly gives a nice look as well. And it looks great with that jigging motion, but it can also be evenly stripped as well. And it will always swing correctly after a strip or two with that cap on there. So here is a fish I caught with the fly at a high mountain lake. The fish really loved this fly, and it was small enough to cast on my 4-weight rod. I also wanted to remind you that all the materials used today are in the description section of this video, but you might have to click the Show More button to expand the section to view. I also have included links to where you can purchase them online. Also included a discount code for the fly artist as well, as a special thank you for being my subscriber. So please use that, as you won't be able to find deals this good anywhere else. Well, thanks for watching. If you like this sort of thing, please subscribe and share with all your fish-loving friends. I will see you on the next video. Now you go catch some fish.